Hello and welcome to this free immigration help channel. Still don't have a name for it. Today I wanted to show you how to prepare for your naturalization interview. Now in the previous video that I have created, I was showing the process again through this USCIS.gov website, how to apply for naturalization. And naturalization, if you're not familiar, it's basically getting that citizenship status. Now you have been a resident, you have had your green card for 5 years, for 3 years, depending on which category, which status you applied based on. For example, if you applied for your green card through marriage, then if you got your green card through marriage, then you only need to wait 3 years, for example, before you can apply for citizenship. And if you got your green card, let's say through asylum status, then you need to wait 5 years. But in any case, whichever really status you're in, if you wanted to apply for the naturalization, if you wanted to become the citizen of United States of America, I created the video on how to actually apply for it. So what happens after you apply for that naturalization? Well, the first thing that happens is that you are scheduled your biometrics appointment. You go for your biometrics appointment, do the fingerprinting to do the picture, and you will actually receive something that I will show you here that you will need for your interview. And that very first thing is what you really need to prepare. One of the things is your civics. It's the civics test. The civics test is basically where the immigration officer during the interview, he or she will test your knowledge of the civics. Some things about the American government, some things about the American history. All of these things we need to know, obviously as American citizens. Although I heard a lot that, a lot of American citizens do not know that. They probably do. They learn it in school, but they forgot. It's fine. It's understandable. But before we get any further, let me show you where you can find it. If you go for your biometrics, appointment and you don't receive that civics book, which they usually give, but if you don't receive it, you can find it here on USCIS.gov. And if you want to start learning before your fingerprint appointment, understandable too. So how to find it? Well, in order to find it, you can go here, your citizenship. As you can see right here in the right side, there is the citizenship, and here you can see study for the test. So we'll click on that, and this will open up this page right here, which looks a little bit different, probably because it's not updated. And again, if you see some things that are different from what I'm showing here, keep in mind, as of today, which is September 2019, things do get updated, things do change. So the test that I'm talking about is the civics test, and you can see it right here, this PDF document. You can download it and print it out. I am just going to open it in the new tab as a PDF document right here. And as you can see, this is all of the questions. There are 100 questions. And all of these questions you definitely do want to go through and not just try to memorize them, but try to understand them. They're not really that hard to learn if you actually understand them. If you simply try to memorize it, it kind of becomes hard. But this is something we all definitely need to know anyway. So what it is 100 questions, right? It's not really a multiple choice or anything. Some of the questions just have the straightforward answers, like what is the supreme law of the land? The Constitution. This is a straightforward answer. Some of the questions, they can be answered differently. There are different options. For example, this one, what does the Constitution do? And you can answer set up the government, or you can answer defines the government, or you can answer protects basic rights of Americans. So as you can see, there is no really 100% one accurate answer, which you need to know As long as you answer one of these things in one of those ways that shows that you understand what the Constitution does, you're good, you know. Some of the things, some of the questions will include, you know, one or several correct answers. For example, what is one right of freedom from the First Amendment? You know, you can answer any of these: freedom of speech, freedom of religion, any of these things, you know, will do. As you can see in the question number 9, what are two rights in the Declaration of Independence? You can say either life, liberty, or liberty and pursuit of happiness. In both answers is going to be correct. But the way this test is going to go, basically, the immigration officer, he or she, will ask you 10 questions. Out of this 100 questions, they will ask you 10 questions. But you only need to answer 6 correctly. So if you do answer 6 correctly in a row, the immigration officer will not even bother asking the rest 4. You know, as long as you answer 6 out of 10, and if you do 6 in a row, then that's it. It's just the 6 questions that you're going to be doing. So it's going to be 10 questions out of this 100. So obviously, if you read through all of them, there's really nothing out of, you know, out of the ordinary. There's not going to be any surprises. Everything is here. So it's really not that hard. 100 questions is not that bad. The only things that I wanted you to pay attention here is, let's see if we can pull one of those questions right up. Of course we won't. There we go. What is the political party of the president now? Now, of course, now we know that the political party of the president is Republican, right? But whenever you are doing it, obviously it can be different, right? Or, for example, currently the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi, by the time you're watching this video, it might be somebody else. So make sure on questions like this, you do your research and you stay up to date. A lot of times those booklets that they give you during those fingertip, the biometrics process, they will include the answer. But whenever I got mine, for example, it was actually of the previous, who was I don't remember who was the previous Speaker of the House, but it wasn't updated because I actually took my interview and did my you know, all that process with the test probably about a year and a half after I did my fingerprinting. So as you can see, you know, depending on when you take that and when you do this, a lot of things can change. So make sure you stay up to date. Another thing is you can see all of these questions, you know, how many justices are on Supreme Court. Make sure to verify that information and you stay up to date. So let's say if you're studying it today and then your interview is in 6 months, go back to these questions in 6 months and make sure that you are up to date. It's very important. And finally, some of the questions you will see, like for example, who's the senator of your state. Obviously those things too, you know, because we all live in different states, you know, do your research, check it, make sure that you know that information. Okay, so this is really it, the civics. As you can see the link here, I will place that link in the description below. This is a PDF, so you can, you know, you can save it, you can print it out, whatever you want to do, however you want to study. But keep in mind, you will get that same booklet in during your biometrics application. So a few other things that will happen during that interview, right? Preparation is going to be a speaking test. It's not really going to be anything specific because this is obviously an interview and you will be talking, so that interview on its own is going to be speaking test. So the immigration officer, he or she, they will determine whether you know and you can speak, communicate English or not. So nothing specific. Don't really pay attention to this speaking test. You know, if you want to practice your speech, do that. That will be great. If you have enough time, you know, practice the speaking skills. prepare sort of for certain things, certain answers and stuff like that. Now the reading test, it will be a very straightforward. It's just going to be, it's really simple. It's just going to be one sentence that's going to be given to you verbally, and it's going to be one of these questions. So for example, the immigration officer might say, why do some states have more representatives than others, or than other states? You can't read. And then you would have to write it out. Why do some states have more representatives than other states? You know, and that's really it. That's really the writing test. So nothing too complicated there. And then the reading test is gonna be you reading the sentences, which she will present. And again, the sentences, they're probably gonna be something from one of the civics questions, and that you would just have to read out loud one of the sentences. Let's say it's this: under our Constitution, some powers belong to the state. What is one power of the state? All right, very, very simple math. So, you know, I've met some people who looked at it and they're like, wow, there's speaking test, there's reading test, there's writing test, there's civics test, so much stuff, and they get overwhelmed. Don't, you know, it's really not the scariest part of the interview, right? And I don't want to scare you, but the scariest part of the interview is the interview itself, because it's very important. You are going, it's really the final stage before you get the most privileged status that you can possibly get through the immigration. This is your final stage. You're becoming the citizen of United States of America, and it's absolutely great privilege that, you know, anybody can wish for. So of course that interview is very important for all of us. So what I would recommend you to do for this interview is, depending on what you are applying based on, right? Go, because, you know, the immigration cases, they last for years. You know, for example, mine took about 10 years, right? So of course you're not going to remember very well what happened 8 years, what happened 7 years ago. Hopefully you kept all of your immigration documents in one place, or a few places, but you know where they are. And if you can get a hold of it, go through it. Go through all of these applications that you filed. Go through the chronological order of things. When did you file for this? When did you come into this country? When did you leave and go somewhere to visit someone? Where did you live? All of these things, just kind of to refresh your memory, because we all done it ourselves. Obviously it's not that hard to remember, but nevertheless, just refreshing our memories it just really helps a lot. You know, if you filed, you know, if you came here and you stayed based on the asylum, you know, application status, go through that whole statement, read it through, just refresh your memory. I know it might be hard to bring up certain things, you know, that some of us that wished we, you know, we didn't experience, we could have forgotten. But this interview is really important, and questions during this interview will reflect some of the things, you know, from your past process, you know, from your asylum or marriage, or however you got all your documents together. So definitely prepare for that. The process of the interview itself is fairly simple. The interviews are, you can check, if you want to check the status, it's very simple. You can go to USCIS.gov, and I didn't spell it right, USCIS.gov. The times after you apply for naturalization and before they schedule your interview, the whole processing of the application, it really varies by, you know, place where you live, by your local field office, because your interview will take place in your local immigration field office. And, you know, for example, where I live, the field office, they were processing those applications for about 2 years. and the city that is about 3 hours away from us, they were processing the applications within the 6 months. So as you can see, it's a really huge difference. And it all can change because things might speed up here or slow down there. You never know. But again, if you want to check the processing times of your local field office, you can go here, check processing times, right? It's on the very front page. It's very easy to find. There's nothing to it. And then you select the form number, which is N400, application for naturalization. And then you select your field office or service office. Let's say you live in Buffalo, New York, right? And if you don't see your city, find out, check it out, check what your local field office is. But if you don't see your city, chances are, most likely, it's going to be the closest city to you. All right? So, Buffalo, New York, for example, get processing times. And as you can see, this is actually not that bad. In Buffalo, New York, it's not that bad. It'd be between 5 months to 12 months, right? Now, sometimes it takes longer. It's, case by case. You might get longer. For example, for me, like I said, it took about 2 years, and online in the processing times it was showing 18 months. So I was about 6 months beyond the processing times, max processing times that was shown online. It's fine, it happens. Really not that big of a deal. But if you really do worry about it, you can file an inquiry. If your case is outside of the normal processing times, and you can find it right here on the bottom. Just click that, and it will take you to the form. It's a simple online form which you have to fill out. Your form number, obviously N400, and then your receipt number, which you can find on the receipt that you have received after you filed the application for naturalization, the date filed, your name, all of that information, and then submit. And then within about 2 weeks, they usually reply. Most of the times, if you're waiting for, your interview, the replies on these things, they're going to be pretty generic. We're still processing, we have delays. So it's not really going to be anything that will give you an answer. Just be patient. As long as it's not more than 6 months that you're waiting, it's really not that big of a deal. This case is, this just usually delayed, just because these cases, they kind of require face to face, one by one. But whenever you do get your interview scheduled, usually they schedule it pretty quickly. So if, let's say, you get notification today that the interview was scheduled, and you receive your letter, your invitation or whatever, interview notification tomorrow, or in a few days, usually they schedule it within about 2 or 3 weeks from that date, right? So you've been waiting for 2 years, and you get the letter today, and they tell you your interview is in 2 weeks. Yes, that's just the way it is. Most of the times, at least, from talking to everybody, whoever was going through this, that's just usually the way it is. So whenever you're scheduled for the interview, obviously prepare. Make sure that you prepare for all of the things that I've mentioned. Your speaking, reading, writing, obviously basic things, civics test, very important, and then going through all of your applications, making sure that you refresh your memory on chronological order. Another thing, obviously make sure you do look presentable. This is an official interview for something very important, so make sure you are dressed presentable. Don't dress in jeans and t-shirt. Show respect. It's a very important thing. And finally, this is probably one of the most important things. If you want to get your, assuming that you pass the interview, assuming that you pass all of the tests and there isn't any problems with the application, and you want to get that answer, congratulations, good job, you're good to go, we will schedule your oath ceremony that same day. Make sure to grab everything with you, all of the documents that you can possibly imagine. Now, the interview notice that you will get, it will only mention a few things. It will mention your passport from your original country. It will mention your residence card, your green card, and then a few other things, right? Make sure you grab everything. By everything I mean, if you have property, bring all the property documents. If you have children, bring all the children documents. Your tax return from the very moment that you came into the country. All the birth certificates, all the diplomas, literally everything you can think of, because you never know what an immigration officer might want to add into the case in order to submit it to whoever they submit it to for the final review. So make sure you grab everything, because of about 15, probably about 10-15 people that were during my interview, not anyone got the congratulations, you're good, that very day. And me including. I didn't get it because I did not have a few documents with me, which I didn't even think I would possibly need, I know it can be hard to kind of predict what exactly they might need. That's why I said, if you want to get the answer right that day, get everything, all the marriage certificates. If you were divorced, get all the divorce documents. If you have child support, get all the child support documents, all the receipts that you have been paying child support. Whatever really it is you can think of, get it. Because you might think, I might need that, but they didn't ask for it or nothing. That's how it was for me. Don't listen to yourself. And listen to yourself, right? Listen to your first self. Take those documents with you. Just get a nice case and take all of that stuff with you. So if you pass everything, and hopefully if you have everything on you, all the documents that the immigration officer is going to ask, you will get that congratulation notice, and you will be scheduled the oath ceremony. It might be that same exact day, in that same exact place, in that field office, if they have the auditorium for the ceremony. It might be later, it might be somewhere, in the park, outside. It really depends, really depends. But one thing I wanted to mention here, if you are changing your name in the process of naturalization, your ceremony will be in court. Now, it's still going to be a very nice ceremony. It's going to be a really good event, right? Very beautiful event, but it's going to be in court. That's for sure, because if you're changing your name, it has to go through court, and that's really it. I will do another video to talk more about the naturalization ceremony, the oath ceremony, and how it goes and what is usually happening in there. But this, I think, is it for the only one thing I'll mention. If the immigration officer, if you pass all of your tests, right, the speaking test, reading test, writing test, civics test during your interview, and the immigration officer asks you for a certain document, and you don't have that on you, it is really not that big of a deal. And immigration officer will tell you, okay, don't worry, you will receive an official request letter for the specific documents. That request letter will tell you what documents you need to submit. Just send them in, and that's it. And that process goes pretty quickly, because you receive that request letter within a week, and just do it as soon as possible. Just send all the requested documents as soon as possible, and they notify you of the receipt probably within about 2 or 3 weeks, and then obviously they give you a response whether you're good or not, and if you are good, you will get that notification that your oath ceremony was scheduled. Keep your eyes on the case status, because this is where you can see all of these updates. You can sign up for automatic notifications sent to your phone as a text message and to your email as an email. Make sure you do that, because it's really helpful. You just enter your receipt here, sign up for the notifications, and then as soon as there is a status change on your case, notification, the oath ceremony scheduled, or they received your documents, you will get notification, and it's really good to know, you know, really staying updated on your case. It's very important. This is your case. This is your responsibility. Whether you do have an attorney or not, it's your responsibility. You want to pay attention to these things. And I think that's really it. Like I said, I'll make another separate video about the oath ceremony, how it goes, how to prepare for it, you know, what to expect from it, and stuff like that, you know, in the next video. If you have any questions regarding this process, regarding interview, definitely let me know. Like I said, all the links that I mentioned for these things I will put in the description below, so you can just go straight there, and everything else you can find on uscis.gov. This is the official website of the United States Immigration Services. Here's the thing. Before I finish the video, a little bit extra, I wanted to mention there are a lot of fake knockoffs services out there that try to pretend they do it legally, so they still exist, but they do try to pretend like they are something from official government, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, but they're not. For example, it's very, very, very easy to get confused. If you type in USCIS.com instead of .gov, you get this website right here, immigrationdirect.com. You type in USCIS.com and it takes you here. So it's very easy to confuse, you know, .gov.com. And as you can see, you can do all of this, check application status, green card renewal, U.S. citizenship application. It looks like it is official, even though it says, by the way, here's something you should know before using our services. This is a private company, blah blah blah. So they do tell you these things, probably not to warn you, but to protect themselves from, you know, from the complaints. But they do tell you those things. Just be careful. Everything you want to know, everything you need to know, will be on the official side of the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, USCIS.gov. Don't fall for any of those knockoffs. Just be careful, because I've seen a lot of people fall for that and spend extra money and then really get in trouble because someone is now messing with their case. You don't want anybody, you know, to do that. So thank you very much for watching. If you found this video useful, subscribe. As you can see, this channel is still growing. A lot more videos will be coming this way. If you have any requests, definitely let me know in the comments below, because this is how I will know what you want to see, what you're interested in, what is most needed. So thanks for watching, and I will be back with the next video pretty soon.